Howdy folks, it's Glenn with the almost world famous Cactus Atlas, and I'm gonna take you on a Goblin Valley adventure. Today's adventure begins though in this land of very alien looking rocks and landscapes known as Goblin Valley, Utah. Some of you will recognize this from a past video, a past camping episode we did. But don't worry, I've come back to do oh so much more this time. So I camped here maybe a couple years ago, and I was at one of these sites that we'll go visit it for old time's sake and reminisce, but I was watching my own video to pick out a campsite, and there weren't many choices, but I noticed this one here, Site 18, was actually open. And then I watched my video from last time and I remarked that I thought this was gonna be one of the best campsites. And now we get to experience it for ourselves. Now, if you're into privacy and all that kind of stuff and you're gonna stay here, you can see privacy is not the best, but there are some sites that are a little bit more private than others, and it's those that I wanna point out to you. Don't expect me to walk site by site and show you everything in this video, because that's not what I'm about. I'm about the experience. And we'll look at a few, but you'll get the general idea. All right, I want to sneak over here to site 19 because this was one of the ones that I wanted to check out last time that I couldn't. And there's nobody here yet. And what I really liked about this one, I'm remembering now when I did my walk around, is that it's tucked away behind these weird rock formations here. And it's a typical site. You're gonna see it when I tour my site and set everything up, but everything's pretty much the same configuration. A tent pad, which is really helpful in this kind of terrain, picnic table, like covered awning, and a fire ring. And yes, you can make fires here, which is awesome because you so much can't at other places that it might be the only fire I can make on this whole trip. And I brought wood. And here's all I'm gonna say about a lot of these sites on the inner loop. You could see you get a nice generous driveway size. You can kind of see some of the rigs you can get in here. Someone's got a Class A over there, so you could see there, you can get a big rig back here, no problem. Some sites are suitable for that. Consult the website if you have questions. But I'm not gonna focus a lot of time on this inner loop here, just because it's all the same kind of stuff. But also note, I don't see any electric hookups here. I think it's pretty much dry except the bathrooms there, or even showers here, by the way, which is awesome. I'm gonna take advantage of that for sure. We'll look at the bathrooms again and compare from last time, because there were some issues, but I went in there earlier and it seems like the issues have been fixed. And this would be site 15. Site 16 is the one across the street, if you're wondering how they have it numbered. So site 15 here is also nice. Like if you have a big rig, or even if you don't, I like the way the tent pad is back here in the back. But what I don't like is look how close to your neighboring site is. So imagine you were camping next to some partiers or something like that, and they were hanging out around the fire, and your tent is right here. That is way too close for my comfort. No thank you, but it does have this spectacular view though. So there are trade-offs here to consider, and there's 17, and their view is kind of blocked because of the awning, so I like the way they did that, and then beyond that is mine. All right, let's make our way over here before someone arrives. We're just gonna kind of blow through. This is also not a bad one here, I would say. Someone has property on it, so they've claimed it, or have already set up shop. It's that one beyond it, over here, that I'm interested in. I would have had no idea site 12 was back there, so I'm jealous. That has to be the best site, I would say, because of the privacy, like back there and being away from everything else. And I didn't even know it was there, it was so private. These are the only people that would know. But yeah, these sites here, 12 and 11, are among the best. For sure, I think the people that are gonna occupy this site just arrived actually. So I got here just in time, and we'll give you a quick look. You know, you've got blocked sight lines here, both in front of you, and you don't have to walk far. And these folks are kind of tucked away back there, so, and you can't really see them because they have the awning there. But, you know, we'll explore later, but I did some exploration last time, and you can like hike up in these things, play hide and seek with your friends, whatever you want to do. But anyway, I would say this is among the best of the best here. Sites 12 and 11. And then from there, you know, it's about the same. So very centrally located in the campground are these restrooms. They have showers. I'll show you that in a second. I'm gonna need one with all this dirt and grit, but let's go peek in here, make sure there's no one in here. And then I'll give you a tour of the facilities. Overall, just like last time, same setup. It smells freshly clean because they clean them between 11 and noon. And no people haven't come in here to mess it up yet. Hey everybody, but these are the bathrooms. Let's do a quick test and see how the water runs this time. See if it runs brown. You had to wait, but it really made you not want to brush your teeth. And they had signs everywhere saying that there was no drinking water during that time. But so far it's running clean. So whatever that issue was, they must have fixed it. Looks like they have a couple of things of soap here, which is nice. And they actually have like paper towels, which I prefer over blowers any day. Got a couple of them here. And then over here, you've got your toilets. I've been in the restroom once already and checked. The water's clear this time, so imagine it just being muddy brown. Same with this one. Much cleaner than I remember too. Last time it was a little dirtier in here, but like I said, with all the blowing dust and stuff, I'm sure once patrons start using this, it's gonna dirty up a little bit, so that's camping for you. So the thing I wanted to walk back a little bit from last time is I was really critical of this, and I think I was overly critical and really not taking into account, you know, how far Hanksville is and how hard it is to, you know, probably service this. My counterpoint to that was this is an expensive campground. I can't remember off the top of my head. Amy flashed some prices up on the screen for people, more expensive than others. So my point was it's always booked, so they're making money. So that was my counterpoint was, can they just fix some things up? And it appears they did. This here, I think, is where you would wash your dishes. Interesting setup. There's really nothing to set your dishes on. It's kind of awkward, but it gets the job done. I'm thankful to have running water here. So that's what that is for. It's not for your kids to shower in. Maybe it could be. All right, now let's go peek in the showers really quick and see what's going on with these this time. All right, let's go peek in here. So yeah, just like I remembered last time, they were very functional. I will use them, so if there's any issues, I will report back to you. But for the most part, right now it's very clean. They've freshly mopped the floor, but this does get really dirty, and you know, the water, there's no curtain, so the water does flow out here. So I remember my challenge last time was I had nothing to set my shoes on, and I had everything like balanced on these guys. I got the job done, but my only recommendation was put some shelves in here or something. You know, it shouldn't take much doing, just so you could like, you know, have a place to put your shoes, maybe like a little stool in here so you could dry your feet before you put your shoes on. That hasn't changed, so that would be my one recommendation. But we're camping, we're kind of roughing it, so we shouldn't gripe too much. Okay, so over here, you have a dump station. So there's a fee, it looks like $15 for all non-campers. So I assume if you're camping here, it's complimentary. And right next to that is your garbage, just like last time. Same exact contraption. And they're keeping it like that, I think, to make it easy to transport. They got to haul the garbage out, so you could see they could hook it up to a trailer, first of all, but it probably helps keep it away from the critters too. So I decided to batten down in here. And don't think it was easy with this wind, you know, because I did put the tarp down underneath it, just for, I don't know why, I just feel better about that. And on the inside, I'll show you what's weighing it down. I've got lots of equipment in there. It ain't going nowhere. That is battened down. I decided to put the roof on the tent, not because of fear of rain, because I have this, but to try to limit the amount of dust that gets in there. I would call it more of a dust shield than anything at this point, although it'll be limited in how well it works because airflow goes up underneath this thing, and there's some open mesh. You saw the top maybe earlier or on a different video. It's just exposed to the elements with a screen on top. So it's not going to keep all the dust out, but anything I can do to limit it out here. Now it's all coming back to me from last time. The dirt and the dust. Probably the dirtiest place I've camped. First and foremost, it's the magic of bungee cord. Pretty much have this thing really tight with bungee holding it. I could probably do a better job with that. I mean, it's holding tight, but you can see not only do I have the tarp connected, I also have each corner of the tent hooked through there. So that's the first thing. Next, the top of the tent. It has 4 hooks. They hook in here to the tent poles like that. That alone probably would be enough, but I noticed when the wind was firing up, it was kind of getting underneath it and lifting things a little bit. Not really lifting it off the ground because I've got a cot in there, heavy bags. It is not going anywhere. You can see there with the wind blowing, it's sturdy. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. This isn't a commercial, but this tent is, you know, I've used it a lot and I love it. It's a Coleman, nothing fancy, nothing expensive, and it's held up almost flawlessly throughout time. And it's got this dark room technology, as they call it, and all that really means is that top does not let light through, so it's quite dark in there even during the day. A little bit of light gets in, but not much. And on that note, like I said, don't let the wind deter you, because chances are you're going to have some when you come out here, but I'm sure there are plenty of days that do not. But just brave it and don't worry about it. The only thing I would worry about more is like heavy downpours and rains and making a muddy mess of things. And therein let that be a lesson to you. I don't care what the weather forecast says. I don't care if they're not calling from wind. That was today. They weren't calling for all of this overcast. They were calling for partly cloudy, not cloudy. So come here prepared to deal with wind and dirt. Here comes dust storm. Oh, in my eye. It's so bad because there's really not much vegetation here. It's just dirt. Oh, and it does get in your eyes. And just watching the dust blow by. Every time I chomp my teeth together, I feel the grit in my mouth and certainly my eyes. And I just feel dirty and gross now. But that's all right, we're camping, right? All right, let's go figure out what's next. Of course, drones are not permitted to be flown over the campground or over the ranger residence. Drone permits can be purchased at the visitor center for $10. Heck yeah, I'm gonna go do that actually. It's a pretty nice little visitor center too. It's small, but they had t-shirts, they might even sell like drinks and wood and stuff like that. I'll find out what's in there. But there's like this nice like scale map of the swell also that I thought was really swell. Oh my gosh, this is so freaking awesome, guys. This changes everything. So this is my permit to fly today and tomorrow, $10 here in Goblin Valley. So I didn't know. I was really chatting with the people that work here. If you guys ever see this, you guys are awesome, really good information. Been chatting for a bit about a few other things, but basically we can't fly over the campground. That's fine. Technically, I guess, I don't think you're breaking any rules. I don't know if that's considered like an assembly of people that's pretty spread out, but anyway, that's fine. I don't care because you can fly it in Goblin Valley proper. And my only worry now is the wind, because the wind reports are going to carry into tomorrow. And although I can get that thing in some windy conditions, what I don't like about it is you'll see the footage kind of do this, and it's a little dangerous. So with as gusty as it is, but I'm going to just kind of keep an eye on that and we'll see. By the way, I do want to make a remark that I did confirm that don't assume all Utah state parks allow drone flights. The person in there said it was hit or miss whether they do. So when I was surmising about goosenecks offering drone, maybe they do and I just didn't know it, but chances are they do not. So anywho, we have more to do now. So I want to just share some quick information and document this on my phone, which is, I never have used the phone on the channel yet, so hopefully this comes out okay. I'm camping in Goblin Valley. I'm in my tent right now, and I came back from hiking out behind the reef and came back to my tent, and it was covered in dirt. Not just the floor, but my sleeping bag, blanket, everything. It was a buzzkill. So I went out and beat my sleeping bag and pillow as best I could. But let me show you the floor, and that'll give you a measure of what I'm talking about. So you see that? That was covered all over my blankets, sleeping bag, everything. It's not a fear of being dirty. It's a fear, like, I have allergies and problems and, you know, stuff like that. And I worry about, like, valley fever. Can you catch that up here, this far up in Utah? Just breathing in dust all night, it just doesn't seem like a good policy. So maybe I should sleep like this and let America protect me. Good morning. My first morning at Goblin Valley after I packed up my site. Here at Site 18. Let's go chat. Well, right now the wind is manageable. It's not the worst it's been, but it's still here, and it was here throughout the night. And it didn't get too much more messy in there, surprisingly. You could see this here. That's remnants from whatever that dust storm was that coated my tent. That wasn't there when I set up my tent yesterday, but when I came back, very fine powdery dust. My only quasi-gripe comes from the folks that just left that were here, and really kind of gives you an indicator of the issue that privacy can be sometimes. So there were, I think, 3 folks there. There was a gentleman and 2 women. One was younger, I mean, probably in her 20s, I'm guessing, and the other one maybe a little older. I wasn't sure if it was a family or what, but they were obnoxious until the time they went to bed, which was probably 11:30 at night, and I was getting very close to having to go ask them to please keep it down. I mean, they were farting and laughing and all sorts of grotesqueries and just really loud, and the voices carried a lot, really obnoxious. So not obnoxious for 4, 5, 6, 7 in the afternoon, but at 11 at night, come on. Other than that, because of a really long hike I did yesterday afternoon into the evening, I didn't get back here until right after dark, so there wasn't much campground life here at Site 18. I ate dinner in my car coming back from my hike and just came in here, took a shower in the bathrooms, which I can report were nice, except for not having anywhere to set your stuff. That was an issue again, but other than that, it was really nice to come back to a very warm shower, and there was no shortage of warm water. All right, folks, I'm just making my way back to Goblin Valley now so we can check into our yurt for our second night stay here. With all this wind and weather, I tell you what, it's I almost think I see rain bands off in the distance and dust storms, but I'm looking forward to sleeping indoors this evening after the dusty yesterday. See that dust up there? All right, and there's yurt number 2. I'm pretty sure. I asked the guys at the one closer to the road, and he said yes. And they gave me a code for the door. The question is, do you just park out here, I guess? Well, yeah, why not? This would be perfect. There's a paved sidewalk. If you have accessibility needs, it looks like you're covered here if you can just get to this point right here and park. We're home. All right, here it is. My name is on the yellow tag for yurt number 2, and there is a keypad on the door. It's basically like a space-age tent, a technological tent with a grill. All right, I think it's worth the price of admission just for this contraption, you know, with all the mud and crud hiking in these canyons around here. It's a boot scraper station. Where have you been all my life, darling? I don't need it right now, but I need one of those, man. If you guys want to buy me a Christmas present, I could use a boot scraper. And they have water here too, conveniently located. And it works, so I guess that would be really good to rinse off muddy equipment if you're doing canyoneering in the area. I honestly don't know much about the amenities, to be like square with you, so I don't know if those are going to be my private vault toilets of the evening. I wouldn't say private, anybody in the campground can use those, but that might be my restroom instead of having running water. But there might be a toilet in here, I'm not sure yet. And there's my yurt number 2, and there's yurt number 1, the one back there. Based on location, I would pick yurt number 1 if I had a choice. I'm not complaining though, because the lack of privacy from last night is not going to be a problem tonight, because there's nobody over here except for a lonely amphitheater, which probably won't be used during the week, I'm guessing. just like all the campgrounds too, you get a picnic table in case you want to picnic outside, and a nice place to make a fire, which I think I'm going to do tonight. It worked! It worked! This is absolutely delightful. This is great! It smells like a fire in here too, like wood. I love this. And it's very cozy in here, though it's perfectly warm right now. It's so spacious too. And I guess I have a real wood burning stove. I can make a fire in here if I want to. Heck yeah. You have a very basic setup. You have a broom. I mean, what else do you need really? And then whatever this hook is for. I don't know what that is. And then here's just some instructions on how to use the swamp cooler, which I assume this is probably for the swamp cooler. Now this does have electricity. It's solar powered, and that's it. So if you use up all the juice in the night doing some high powered thing, you're out of luck. And then you have to wait for the thing to get more juice. I don't know how much juice this is gonna have. If there was a party in here last night or not, I'm not sure. But let's turn on some switches and see what happens. I've only located 2 switches, so there's really not much choice. This is one. Oh, okay, so the top one turned on the lamp up there. So we clearly have some power. That'll come in handy later. I'm not gonna leave that on. Do not leave the lights on, kids. For real. And the second one turns the fan on. Now I could dig that for a little bit. I'm gonna not waste the juice now. I don't know how long it would last. Probably the whole time, but just in case, because I do want to charge my stuff. So I need to look for outlets now and see if that's even an option. There is. I see one outlet down here behind that. So I'll verify later if it works or not. But if you're worried about being able to charge stuff, I think we're good there. So maybe I'm wrong about this being a wood burning thing. If it's plugged in and it's electric, it might be one of those fake ones, I don't know, or gas or something. So I'm doing this experiment for you guys. I am sure I'm being silly, and the amount of charge this thing has can easily handle my charging regimen for the Cactus Atlas, which really is going to be, you know, I'm finishing charging up a Sony ZV-1 battery. It looks like I've got 2 more on deck, and then I'm gonna have 4 drone batteries total, which that one can definitely suck this thing maybe about a third of the way dry doing 3 batteries. And this guy is also plugged in my Jackery. You could see it's 81% charged. I've been charging it in my car, but what I'm doing now is I've got it plugged in here, and I'm using it as a pass-through now to charge other things, so that this should simultaneously charge while other things are also charging. So if I can throw all of that at it, and even a few other things like my gimbal, then that'll be awesome. I'm pretty sure it will, though. I'd be very surprised if it didn't handle that, but at least you'll know for your own needs. So yeah, I would say cleanliness, the smell, everything in here is all good. Now the next thing to try is let's lay on this mattress and see if the mattress is all that, or if I'm gonna get my cot. All right, I'm wearing my boots. This material is like kind of like nylon feeling. So far, there's a nice springiness to the mattress that is springy yet somewhat firm. See how it handles my big bones and my length too. I'm 6'2", and I think this will work. I actually find this to be quite comfortable. I like a firmer mattress, and I would say this is firm soft. It's got a little bit of softness to it, but I would say better than the average hotel room bed in my experience, no lie. I don't feel springs or anything off with it, so that's really nice. Now the second question is, would I prefer to be up on top or on bottom? Because this does feel a little claustrophobic for me, and there's like material like the mattress above, people have like dug out like my cats do, like this threading and stuff, and it's hanging down. So it just looks a little dingy and gross. But who cares? We're camping, basically. So there's your report. That's what you get for your money. I'd say it's well worth it being out this remote keep that in mind. You're either camping or you're not. Maybe, I guess if you have a nice RV, you're good. But if you don't like me and you want some kind of shelter, especially from the winds and the sand particles, this is something to keep an eye out for coming open when you make a reservation. And on that note, I think I need to take you guys on a little activity here in Goblin Valley. And I think what I'm gonna do is, I was gonna take you down into Goblin Valley proper on this episode, but because they have drone permits now, I have to do a standalone episode on Goblin Valley again, even though I've done it before, because that adds a new dimension to it. But what I'm gonna do for you folks is take you on another hike here to something known as the Goblin's Lair. So the main attraction here is not far from the campground. It's right around the bend. There's a couple things to see and do. The main thing is Goblin Valley itself, which I would say is a good half-day exploration. If you want it to be, it could be less if you want it to be. And then this trail to the Goblin's Lair. I even think there's one called the Goblet's Lair. If we have time, maybe we'll go seek that out too. And maybe one of the first sites I want to show you here in the park are some very iconic, famous formations called the Three Sisters. And there's a pull-off over here for those three, and I'll give you a look at those. Unless that RVer stops there, then I'm not gonna stop. So famous, in fact, that I think they have a t-shirt of this in the visitor center. The same design that I recall seeing a couple years ago, and the only consistent one that I saw. So the Three Sisters are in charge over here. The plural form of goblin is goblins is, right? Goblins is, right? All right, before we make our way to the Goblin's Lair, which is somewhere on the other side of those little bluffs or mesas there, this is Goblin Valley. This would be Valley A. And you can see it's very spread out here, but there's really nobody down there. So every time I've come here, you've pretty much had whole sections to yourself. Valley A is probably my least favorite of the three valleys, but it's still amazing. But all of those little hoodoos down there, those are the things that are called goblins. So you can see there's an army of goblins down there, thousands of them. You can see we have quite a hike to traverse to get around the other side of that over there, which is where this thing's supposed to be. I think we've walked out beyond now the edge of this, and I expect the trail to curve around, and it looks like it is. And let's see what we have here. You have the Carmel Canyon Loop, which I'm not even sure what that is. That would be for a different trip maybe. And the Goblin's Lair, the Goblins' Lair. Goblins' Lair. I thought this was interesting. You see this plant here, and look at the roots going down. But over time, I'm sure this wash got washed out over here, exposing that. But you could see the whole root system and how deep down, whatever this brush is. Anybody want to identify this plant for me? I guess that the Goblin's Lair is probably in between these two things here because I haven't seen people hiking that way. And I've lost sight of the people that were here before me. So I'm guessing they're back there. I hope so, because this is way the heck out here. And very sandy now. Very deep sand. And we saved the best for last. A hill of sand. All up and away. All right, let's just get her done. And if you want, here, if you want to go another quarter mile, you can go to the Goblin's Lair. I don't think we're gonna do that on today's though. We're short on time. All right, I'm curious now because they said the cave is up here. I don't know where, but he said, the guy was telling me it's very steep getting in there and they didn't go down because it was too steep. So I don't know. This part is kind of no joke. It's really dusty and kind of slick. Dry dust and sand. I think we're almost there. So this is the Goblin's Lair. It's cave-like. I just think it's kind of a small canyon. Oh, you could get down there if you wanted to. I just don't have it in me in the time right now. But it is nice and cool in here, for sure. And you could see light shines to the ceiling here. But I think I have seen people go down in there before. And right on the entrance of the lair are the goblins standing sentinel, guarding the entrance to the Goblin King. Well, I guess to get a couple snapshots here before I go of the cave. I enjoyed the Goblin's Lair cave. I just didn't realize it was such a steep descent to get in there. Doable, but with all my junk, I did not come prepared for that. I came for an easy entry, and that's it. So back to the yurt we go, and I think we'll make a campfire tonight or do something cozy. So I want to show you guys this setup here, just to demonstrate what I'm using the solar power of this place for. I've got a jackery, once again, plugged into a wall. Now I've got it serving as a pass-through for charging my DJI Pro remote. The drone batteries, I've got 3 here, and I think I've got another one in the queue. My Sony ZV-1 battery. I got a couple in the queue there, and keeping this thing fully charged. So I don't know how much power all of that is drawing, but my prediction is it's not gonna screw me up here. And I'm running this light also. That's the electricity that's currently being consumed in this place. You can hear this thing flapping in the wind a little bit. It's really windy again. I'm very thankful to not be outside right now in a tent like I was yesterday. Here's a little design tip for you. I took this chair and put it right next to the bed there. I made myself a little end table, so I have my car keys and my phone in a place where I know where they are, and entertainment options as well as an additional light source should we end up draining the juice out of this place. Well, I was gonna build a fire tonight, but I'm opting to not do that at this point just because it's so gusty out there and I just don't think it would be enjoyable. The smoke would be blowing, and that's really why I don't want the smoke to be blowing all over my face. So really, if you can't sit next to it and enjoy it, if you're in a hurricane winds, I mean, why do you want to do that? So I'll save the wood for when I do some camping out in the wilderness in the next day or two. It's a little softer. I put it on the lower setting on the lantern there. It looks kind of cozy, doesn't it? If it does, it's because it is. All right, friends. It's the next morning. You can see there's sun outside. And I've got pretty much everything packed up here other than my last backpack. My sleep report for here, amazing. Once I fell asleep, I think I only woke up one time in the night. For the most part, I was conked out hard. All of that hiking and everything finally caught up to me. And there were no chatty campers next door. We were out here in this complete solitude and silence. This may end up being the only scene out of all of my Goblin Valley footage on this trip where there's sun baking these things. Probably the more typical scene you would have out here. And there's the swell. We saw somewhat of a sunset over that way yesterday. And with that, folks, this is the part where we're gonna have to part ways. I wish we could just stay here forever, but that's not how life works. Hope you got something out of this episode. You got to see some camping here at Goblin Valley, the Yurt, as well as a hike. So hopefully when you come here one day, you will be able to plan well. I'll see you next time.